Come join us each week as we dive into topics about the joys and the struggles of motherhood. By no means are we experts. We're practically flying by the seat of our pants, or should I say, mom jeans. On this podcast, you will find a judgment-free zone where we discuss not only the best parts of being a mom, but the not-so-glamorous parts too. You can expect unfiltered, real mom talk, humor, grace, and a sense of sisterhood. What makes our podcast unique is that we understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to being a mother. We're not going to pretend that we know everything too, because we definitely don't. We just want a place to share our stories with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood.
Welcome back to Mom Jeans, the podcast. This is episode 26, and today we are going to cover eating and introducing solids to our kids. But before we jump into the episode, we want to give a huge shout out to Michelle, who had her baby boy Parker this last weekend, and I know that Leah's been able to see him and I've been able to see him. He's so tiny. It's hard to remember them being that tiny. So huge shout out to them and so exciting.
Yes, congratulations, Michelle. That's so exciting.
He's very cute and very squishy.
He is so tiny. Yes. All right. We, at some point, will get her on for her birth story. I asked her if she was ready right now, and she's like, give me some time. I didn't know she wanted to go because it was so fresh in her mind, but she said no. So maybe a little bit, a month or so, we'll get her on here and we'll hear about it and hear about the comparisons to her birth with Cece. So anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into our highs and lows of the week. Danielle, do you want to start?
Sure. I should have thought about it more, but this week's been really good. Weston has learned a new skill. He's jumping, but barely off the ground. I don't even think his feet leave the ground, but I go 1, 2, 3, jump. And he does the jumping motion. So that's been fun. I've noticed he's making more connections, which is really cool to see. So, for example, he has this lookbook. It's a Sesame Street lookbook, and there is like a little stuffed animal lamb that's in it, and he pointed at that, and he'll make the lamb noise, but it sounds like he's laughing. He goes, ha, for the lamb noise. But then he has a lamb in his stuffed animal little bucket, and so he ran over there and pulled it out and then ran back over and then pointed at the lamb and then pointed at his lamb. So he made that connection that I have a lamb and that's a picture of a lamb. So I was like, oh, that's so cool, or a sheep. But that was really cool. He's just making those connections. And with that, he's also getting more opinionated by telling me no a lot. I'll ask him things and he's like, no. And then I realized apparently I tell the dogs no a lot because now the dogs bark outside and they'll bark at people walking by, and I usually yell at them like, no, or stop barking. And so now when they bark anywhere we're in the house, he's like, no. So I'm like, great. So now he's definitely starting to pick up my habits, and so that's kind of been fun. But then also I'm like, maybe I should stop saying no so much to the dogs because now he's just yelling no. But yeah, I am trying to think of a low. I didn't really have a low this week, but tomorrow I go on a trip to see my sister in South Carolina, and it'll be my first trip away from Weston. I've been away from him overnight once, but that's it. So this is like a full 5 days. So 4 nights away from him. I've been with him all day, every day, like for his whole life, basically. So I'm definitely nervous about that. I know it's well needed and I'm excited, but it's also makes me feel a little anxious. So yeah, that's my week.
I'm excited you're doing that though. I think that's going to be, like I said, when I did that with Hannah, I left her at, I think she was 9 months, and on the airplane, I cried so much. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then I got well, to be fair, I went to Hawaii. I got to Hawaii and I
nice.
was like, this is awesome. I can wake
Yeah.
up whenever I want. I don't have to think about what food I have to get her. It was nice, but I was so ready to get home when I got home too.
Yeah. Exciting. Well, I'll also be at the beach. So you'll find me at the pool or the beach.
Yes.
So it
Reading
has
your
a
books.
pool bar. Yeah. Reading my books. There's a pool bar and grill there. So everything I need is going to be right there. So it's going to be great.
Yay. That's going to be so great.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it.
Awesome. Oh, and to add, Danielle, yes, I had the same thing with Hannah. That was like one of the first things she started doing was yelling at Hank, because I would always be like, no, Hank, because of whatever it was. He'd like start crying because he wanted to go on a walk or something. And so she would go around, no, Hank, no, Hank. And I'm like, oh, no.
I was like, tell her good girl or good boy. So I'm
Yeah,
kind of
right.
like, he's just yelling, no.
Poor Hank. Yeah. Yeah. Leah, how about you?
I think my high-low are one and the same. This week we went to Phoenix to see my dad and have a little staycation, and it was super nice. We stayed at a resort and did the pool thing, and my dad came over when he was able, and then we went to the aquarium, which was super fun. Wes was like, he's very introspective, so when we first get into a new environment, he really like takes a pause and looks around and observes, and it kind of like identifies if the scene is safe. And so when we were at the aquarium for like the first 15 minutes, he refused to get out of his stroller. He was like, nope, I'm hanging out here. This is my safe space. And then finally we got him out of the stroller and he was having the best time ever. So that was super fun. It was very sweet to see. And he saw all the fishies and it was pretty adorable. But you know, being down there with my dad's just getting older and he's not in great health. And it was kind of like, I want to say it's like having two kids, but I want to say it's different in ways because you expect an adult to know how to do these things to take care of themselves. Whereas with a kid, you don't necessarily have the expectation that they can walk and feed themselves and do all of those things. And so I think it makes it, I don't know if it's more difficult, but definitely different. And it was a challenge. So my sister and I are just trying to figure out what's next with that. So, you know, I really like, my dad is like, aside from Steven, my best friend. Like I talk to my dad every single day. I've always been really, really close with him. So I always want to spend time with him, but it also was a very stressful weekend. There was absolutely zero relaxing between trying to take care of Wesson and trying to help my dad to the degree that he needed. So I would like to go to a beach and a pool. But you know, it was still a nice weekend, you know, even if we just sit around and watch movies and talk and whatever, then that's fine. But, Wes also had 5 teeth come in the last 7 days.
Oh my gosh.
So it's been a little rough. I think 3 of them are fully in now and 2 of them are still making their way almost all the way up. But it was literally like, I opened his mouth one morning. I was like, oh, there's 5 teeth coming in. 5 all at once.
Buddy.
So he's been a little wild, but
yeah,
he's gonna have a full mouth of teeth after that. They're all here.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I
remember when they didn't have teeth.
Yeah, and I've been really worried because one of these like 4 bottom ones that are like right in the front that are on the teething chart say they come in between like 9 and 12 months or something like that. His tooth it's never come in. And so I'm like, I wonder if he even has that tooth. Like it came in on the other side a long time ago, but then not on the left side. And I'm like, I don't think he has it. Well, it came through this week with the rest of them. So they all came storming in.
Poor guy.
Surprise.
Yeah. I was like, oh, well, you have the tooth. I'm like, cool.
That's funny. That's funny you say 9 months. Weston's 2 bottom ones came in at like right at 3 months. I'm like, what is going on? As I'm still breastfeeding, I'm like,
I'm trying to think.
Wasn't fun.
When Wes got his first tooth. So, man. I don't know, 6 months, 7 months. Yeah, but you got those
Crazy.
ones first. Yeah,
crazy the timelines, how different they are. Like Hannah was really late to get her first tooth. I think she was 9 months, something along those lines. And Aubrey was super early, like for us, because we were expecting 9 months. But yeah, it's such a different. It's so different. Like Danielle, like you said, like I pretty much stopped breastfeeding when Hannah got her teeth because she started biting me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not into this. So that's why I stopped with her. And with Aubrey, she had teeth before I stopped, but luckily she never bit me. So that was good, because man, that's not fun when that happens.
No,
it's for sure.
Not at all.
No. So yes. Well, I'm sorry about your dad, Leah. I don't have words. It's so hard. So all right. Well, my highs and lows. So this last weekend we went to Atlanta for Brandon's grandpa's memorial service, and Hannah got some good cousin time in, which was really fun. So our niece is about 6 months older than Hannah, and it was just so fun to watch them together because they're like our little towheads, the blonde, blue-eyed girls just running around. And it was really funny because we would see family that like didn't know the girls well, right? And then they would like start talking to them like it was the other one of them. So it was kind of funny because it was like they were twins, but they're not, But yeah, Hannah got to swim a lot, and she did so awesome. And we couldn't get her out of the pool, which was really nice. And makes me feel better when she's around water that she'll hopefully do okay. It's not quite there, but yeah. So that was good. And then another high of ours tonight, we were eating dinner with Aubrey was asleep, but it was me, Brandon, and Hannah. And Hannah like just had gotten done with a bite of food, and she goes, I have an idea. And we were like, okay. And she goes, I have popsicle. And we were like, what? Like, what are you saying? This is amazing. So I was like,
smart.
It's so weird, like, to hear those things come out of her mouth, because Brandon and I just started dying. We were like, I mean, very, very good try, but you're not having a popsicle right now. No. But yeah, but like you were saying, like, you start to realize what you say, because she, every single day, like, she'll be like rambling. And she goes, and I was like, where'd she get that from? And Brandon's like, you do that all the time. I'm like, oh, do I? I didn't even notice that. So it's really cute.
Yeah, this weekend I went, and Wesson went, I was like, excuse me?
Isn't that the best? I love it. I mean, I love it, but it's also like, ooh, gosh, I'm being watched at all times. It's kind of scary.
Miniature tape recorders.
So, yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, right. Yeah. So, and then Aubrey is so close to crawling. She's so close, but she has physical therapy tomorrow to try and help figure out some exercises we can do to try and help her crawl, help her sit up on her own from laying down, and then help her to pull up on things. And all three of those things are coming along really well, but I think we just kind of want to like get a head start on like walking stuff. Like, are we going to be behind on walking too? So can you give us some exercises for that as well? And then I'm also going to use it as an opportunity to ask them if you have to have a referral to go to PT. I don't know how that works, but Hannah has a really bad pigeon toe. And when she runs, she trips a lot because her toe is turned in and it trips her. So I'm like, wow, why not just get in and see what we can find out? But I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. Brandon's going to take her. So take Aubrey. So that should be good.
What is pigeon toe?
Yeah, I think so. Her right foot is like turned in when she runs and walks.
Oh,
so she like, and we've talked to the pediatrician about it before, and they're like, oh, by the time they're 3, it should be straightened out. And we've talked to her daycare, and her daycare is like, we've noticed the pigeon toe, and we're not saying this is something of concern, but it's probably something you should bring up with the pediatrician, because we noticed that the younger kids do have that, but they've all grown out of it, and Hannah still does it. And we're like, okay, good to know. So maybe there's like a hip thing going on, or, we're not really sure. Obviously, I'm not great with that stuff. So we're going to talk to her about that as well. So yeah, so that's good. And then, I think the the big thing, like, and I don't know, this is kind of a controversial topic, of course, is like, so my low is like trying to be around different parenting styles and not be judgmental, but also trying to figure out how to explain to your kid like why you're not letting them do what the other kids are doing it's a challenge that we're coming up against right now. And in many facets, like at school, she'll come home and say, oh, well, this kid does that and that kid does that. And it's like, oh man, like that's a really hard thing for me to try and figure out and trying to navigate. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep it positive, but also tell her that that's not something I'm interested in. Right. So I think that's, parenting challenges, as somebody once said to me, the bigger your kid gets, the bigger the problems get. And this is just I'm getting to that point where Hannah already asks me questions that I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's only 2 and I don't know how to answer this. Like she keeps asking me why the moon is moving away from us when we're moving closer to it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how science works. Let's Google that.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Is that what happens?
Yes. Okay. So next time you're walking, watch the moon and it looks like it's going further away from you as you walk towards it. Brandon thinks it's a peripheral thing, like a point of like the trees are making it do that. I don't know. Like how smart I sound right now. Oh my gosh.
A perception thing.
Yeah, like a perception thing.
Yeah. I've never noticed.
This is my 2.5-year-old asking me.
I'm gonna have to have more mindful and intentional walks, I guess.
Wait, please tell me if you see it or if you're like, okay, you guys need to go get your eyes checked. Because that's possible.
Very deep for a 2-year-old, like a very deep question.
She asks me the craziest things and I'm like, oh my God, like I expected this when you got to like kindergarten. I expected to be outgraded by kindergarten, but not yet.
Well, isn't it fifth grader? Are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That show was so hard. Like some of them I would get, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy what they know.
No, I wouldn't win that show by any means.
No, for sure not. For sure not. Well, all right. Anything else to add before we jump into our topic?
I did have a funny that kind of tied into last week's episode. So last week we talked about sleep and all the things that we've done to get our kids to sleep. Well, this week we got a message from a listener who has a young baby and was trying to get the child to sleep. I don't think any of us expected to open up the message and see that this parent said that they didn't have a snoo to put the baby to sleep. And the snoo is a very fancy bassinet that has some sways and some vibrations to it. And there's a lot of people who are diehard snoo fans. That's fantastic. I've heard great stories about it. But this parent did not have a snoo. And so the mom took one of her personal pleasure toys and put it in the bassinet to make the vibration for the child to fall asleep. Just think that at some point we will all go through whatever we can do to get your child to sleep. That was a new one that I've never heard of, seen. And so, for all you parents out there, you've got to do what you got to do. And the baby had a 5-hour stretch of sleep. So
5 nights.
So congratulations to that mom and dad out there who were listening, heard us, thought it would be a fun story to share with us. Thank you for doing that. We all got a really good laugh out of it today. Still laughing about it.
Yeah,
we did. A couple hours later. So if you're looking for vibration for your child bassinet, it might be in your nightstand.
Yep, if you're in a pinch. Now you know.
I mean, that's incredible. Just make sure the batteries are fresh and you can keep using that tool. I love that. That is awesome. And please share those stories with us if you have them. Help another parent out. Who knew?
Sleep tricks, man. We all need them.
I love it.
I think I blushed when I opened up the message. I'm like, oh.
I was at work
Yeah,
when I
that's
saw it,
sweet.
and I just could not contain myself. I had to like close the blinds in my office because I was laughing so hard.
Yes.
I think we're all crying right now.
I was just going to say, for all of you listening, we're crying with laughter right now.
You laughed out so long.
Yes.
Oh, and I appreciate the honesty and the bravery of sharing that with us.
Yes. For real. No shame in that. We love that.
No. Yes, we are laughing with you.
I didn't
Oh
know
my
what
goodness.
it was.
Did you Google Lens it? Oh, I was like, I hope you Google Lensed it and you were
Work
on like your
computer.
work Wi-Fi. Yeah, on your work computer, please.
I did Google the swinging sister wives of Hulu today because there's a new show out, and I was like oh my gosh, I was with my regional leader, and I was like, oh, there's this new reality TV show coming out. It's about like swinging Mormons.
The Mormon women, right?
Oh,
He was like, what? And I was like, hold on, I'm going to Google this. I'm sure this is a good thing to Google on my work computer, but
on your work computer. Yes. I actually was thinking about, I don't know, did you guys ever watch the show Wife Swap?
yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, could you imagine if we did that within our group, like how that would go? I cannot imagine how that would go.
Fascinating. That would be a
I
fascinating
think it would
experiment.
be awesome, but I mean, awesome for like TV show. Like
Yeah.
the drama would be incredible. I just think of somebody in the house with Brandon, and I can't even imagine how they would react to Brandon. Or me, for that matter. I mean, I don't know, knock on him, but like I can distinctly remember one of the wives went into the house, and the mom, like I think she had like 4 to 6 kids. Like it was a ton, and the laundry was just like outrageous to the point there were ants in their laundry, and the mom was like a super clean freak and was like, oh my, I'm gonna die. I can't be in this house. This is horrible. And I like think about how I'm not the cleanest of people, unfortunately, but Brandon loves to have things in order. And I'm like, yeah, I could see where me being in somebody else's house would not go well. Taking care of other kids. Yeah, it'd be crazy. Anyway, we'll table that for our, 1000th episode when our kids are a great age to do that.
Yeah.
Got a while to go.
They're no longer sleeping with pleasure toys.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I love that. That's amazing. That was awesome. It made us all smile. So that was great.
Yeah.
We love that. Please send those.
Yes.
Please send those to
was
us.
great.
Okay. Well, let's get into our main topic of the day, eating. So let's start with when and how you began solids. So it's interesting. Our pediatricians at our doctor's office have differing opinions on when you should start solids, and definitely different than the American Pediatrics, whatever.
The AAP, American Association of Pediatrics. Right.
So yeah. So Leah, you want to start?
Yeah. So we started introducing solids right after Wes turned 6 months. So like a week after. We waited until his 6-month checkup just to make sure that there wasn't like any cause for concern to, delay starting solids. And the pediatrician actually said that one of her favorite things to start kids off with was ribs. And if you know my husband, you know that he loves to smoke meat. and ribs being one of his favorite things to make. So we made ribs and we gave Wesson a rib for his first meal, which
nice.
is very suiting for, very fitting for my family with my husband and his obsession. So we did that for his first meal. And then I followed a couple apps and information and stuff like that. I'm just like slowly introducing solids. So, introducing like a new food every day, a new texture, stuff like that. Kind of did that from the beginning. That was about it.
Nice. Danielle?
Unfortunately, I wish I had started at 6 months. I let my mom talk me into doing it earlier because I was visiting and he was 4 months, and she was talking about how skinny he looked and like he was hungry and probably wasn't getting enough milk from me. So it's just like I got pressured to do it earlier. And so I started with cereal, in which I only did that once. His like stomach hurt so bad after that. But when I did get back, I started pureeing things. I didn't do baby led weaning because I was terrified of like him choking. So I did a lot of purees. Again, looking back at videos, with seeing him like not, he could sit up, but he was just still like, shaky or so. I wish I'd waited till 6 months, but I didn't. So you live and you learn. But I did. He loved butternut squash, still does. I'd puree that, sweet potatoes. I did avocados, bananas, like everything pureed. And yeah, we started that. And I don't think I started baby led weaning until probably 6 months. That's me.
Nice. So it was really funny because with Hannah, I started her I literally think it was the day before her 6 month appointment at the pediatrician, because her pediatrician at the time said, oh, start at 4 months. At her 4 month appointment, they were like, start now. And I was like, interesting, because everything I'm reading is saying 6 months, don't start before 6 months. The American Association of Pediatrics said, do not start until 6 months. Like it's really like a thing. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to wait but I didn't want to go to the appointment at 6 months and tell her I hadn't started yet. So I started the day before. I gave her an avocado, like a slice of avocado or whatever. We did strictly baby led weaning. So we did not do purees, and I don't like, of course we did, yogurt. So I consider that kind of like that kind of texture I consider. But we did same thing, Leah. One of Hannah's first was steak because, you just want them to gnaw on it and feel different textures and stuff like that. So, so we did that. And then Aubrey was the same way. So we started that for her at the day before, or like the week before her 6 month appointment, just to be able to tell them that we had started it, which is ridiculous. Like, whatever, lie, or who cares, right? So silly. But it was interesting because when I got to the 6 month appointment for Aubrey, which both of my kids have eczema, Hannah's far worse than Aubrey's. But when I got to the 6 month appointment for Aubrey, the doctor said, okay, I don't want you to do any allergens until 9 months because I'm worried with eczema kids. Like, you don't know the difference between the eczema and the reaction. And we want more time for the eczema to try and like get it to be a little bit more solved. So then we can tell the difference between an eczema flare and an allergy. And I was like, okay, no big deal. So then we had to go into the doctor at like 7 months because Aubrey was sick. And I saw the same doctor and she was like, okay, so have you started peanuts and eggs and all of that? And I was like, you told me not to do that until 9 months. And she's like, oh no, you can do it. You can totally do it. And I was like, whatever, right? Like, I was so annoyed. So then I gave her all of those things between the 7 months and the 9 month appointment. And the 9 month appointment, we were talking about solids and whatever. And I was like, yeah, she's done great with peanuts. She's done great with eggs. What do you mean? You gave her allergens before 9 months? And I was like, lady, are you kidding me? So I was like, what a whip around on that, right? Like, it was such a,
just mouth the doctor's name. Oh,
I'll text you.
Okay.
Yes. So I was so frustrated because I was like, all right, whatever, but luckily luckily for us, we had no issues. And with Hannah, I introduced a lot of allergens because I read a lot like the exposure is better for them and just keep their system going. And, yeah. So did you guys do anything as far as staying away from allergens or trying allergens, or how did you guys feel about that situation?
So we did coconut. And when we gave Wes coconut, it's not one of the top 9 allergens, right? But when we gave Wes coconut, he broke out in this horrible rash. And so we called the pediatrician and she was like, don't give it to him again. And they sent us down for allergy testing. So after that, we just kind of decided to hold off on doing the allergens until we went and got the allergy testing. And I don't know why it's not more commonplace to do the allergy testing. I felt like it was a very easy experience. It was very quick and totally worth it in my mind, to give us a peace of mind. He didn't come back having any sort of allergy. So that was great news. The doctor said it was some sort of contact dermatitis that can happen in fluke situations. He has had plenty of coconut since. He loves these like coconut straws from Sam's Club that he's obsessed with. So he eats coconut pretty much every day now. And then we do a lot of peanut butter in our house, dairy, eggs. He's had wheat, but we don't have it in our house. So it's very, very limited to how much he has wheat. But yeah, we haven't done shellfish because I don't eat shellfish. Because I don't know if I have a shellfish allergy. It runs really strong in my family to the point where we couldn't have any shellfish at our wedding because my uncle and my grandma would go anaphylactic if their food cross-contaminated at all. So I never grew up eating shellfish. I've never been tested for shellfish. Never had it. I have no idea. And we just don't eat it in our household either. So we haven't done that, but I think we've done pretty much all of the rest of them. What about you guys, Danielle?
I think I had Weston try peanut butter at like a year and he was fine. I think eggs before that. I don't even know what month, but I just slowly, like, if it was an allergen, just making sure I wasn't adding in another allergen to see if he'd had a reaction. And Weston did fine. I think I was scared about peanut butter. Not that I'm not allergic to peanut butter, but I guess it's just so many kids are, and people are allergic to peanut butter these days. And I remember texting Lisa, I'm like, how do I introduce it? And I'm like, when? And you had already introduced it, like you said a little earlier. So I was like, okay, it'll be fine. So I just let him try it and it was fine. Yeah. And he had shrimp a few months ago, like shellfish. So he's pretty much I haven't found anything that he's had a reaction to, which has been good, but does pretty good with dairy as well. We started that at a year.
Did you wait to do all of your allergens until a year?
I don't think so. Like, what are some others? Because the only one I was really thinking about was peanut butter and shrimp.
Eggs, dairy, wheat, soy.
Okay. No, because he had yogurt really early, so he did have dairy in that, and then eggs were like cooked and stuff. But yeah, it was probably in between like 9 months too.
Mm-hmm. Sesame is an allergen.
A year. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
No, I didn't look at a list, and I'm just like, here you go. I don't know.
I had this
Maybe I wasn't
little
paying attention to it too much.
magnet that I paid like $5 for, and it was 101 before one. Gives you 101 foods to try before they're 1 year old. I think I kind of did that. I got to 67. And the rest of them, I were like, I've not even heard of some of these foods.
I know, right?
I'm not going to go out of my way to buy something that he's likely never going to eat in our house, at least. So that's how I can remember some of the allergens.
Yeah. I was with Hannah. I started peanut butter, I think, immediately because I was so like, I just wanted to get to it. I wanted to make sure and see. And I also read that exposure stuff, like expose them to that kind of stuff. It'll make it better. But I also at one point had tried those. Have you ever heard of those? I don't know if they're the ones I bought were puffs. They come in a little bag and they introduce all of the allergens at once to them. And it's supposed to help them get, up on that stuff and make sure that their body's being exposed to it. And so I got one box of them and she went through them so fast because you're supposed to give them to them daily. And I was like, this is so expensive. I'm not doing this. So I stopped doing that and then just tried to read like the types of things that it exposed her to so that I could just make those things myself or do things like that. So yeah, for them, we've done a lot.
Even since Hannah's been born, there's more products like that now that are out on the market. Yeah, because they've got the puffs, they've got the cereal, they've got the oatmeal, they've got bars. Like there's all sorts of that stuff now where it introduces all of the allergens in one item. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I mean, like I can understand why people do it. I totally do. It's just financially was not the choice I was willing to make. So yeah.
One of those products was a Shark Tank product that Mark Cuban invested in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I get that. I understand that. So, so let's see. I have a lot of things on here that I'm like, where should we go to? So, let's skip for just 1 second. When did you introduce water?
Oh, I don't remember. A year? What's the standard?
So we did 6 months is when they say to do it. Don't do it before 6 months because their kidneys aren't supposed to be able to handle it.
Then we probably did it at 6 months, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we kind of followed the timelines that you gave us.
Yeah.
What did Lisa do? Okay. So yeah, that's probably when we did it. But I know he didn't drink a ton of water until he was really off bottles.
I remember you saying that. I remember you saying he wasn't a big water drinker.
No, and he never drank milk. We tried it twice and it upset his stomach horribly, like cow's milk. It upset his stomach horribly.
Yeah.
So we just never kind of gave it back to him. He still doesn't drink milk. He only drinks water. And when he was really sick a couple weeks ago, I couldn't get him to drink anything but water. And the doctor's like, try juice, try a popsicle, try all of this. The hospital's giving us all this stuff. And I'm like, he is only going to drink water. He is my son. I only drink water and coffee.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So it must have been 6 months. I forgot about that. I didn't even think of that.
I don't really remember him drinking consistently water until closer to a year. But I do if we're at a restaurant, I would give him water out of the straw, so introducing it that way. And then I remember just texting you, when can babies drink out of straws? And Lisa, I forget, what age did you tell me? You told me an age.
Hannah started immediately. She was awesome with a straw, weirdly awesome with a straw right away.
Yeah, as soon as
as a newborn?
No, sorry, 6 months. At 6
as
months.
Soon as we introduced water, Wes was drinking it out of a straw. So 6 months.
Okay, so I think we're behind. I think it was 7, 8 months when I gave him a straw. I'm like, oh my gosh, I texted you. I'm like, he could do it. I had no clue. And so then I started, giving him water here and there. And now I'll offer milk in the morning and then I offer milk at dinner. And he drinks most of it, but I have a water bottle for him to grab. And he'll go to it and just drink it, throughout the day. So he does drink a lot of water.
That's
awesome.
He's
good at that.
Yeah, Hannah was really good about water and always wanted water. She wanted water from 6 months on. And she, I read a bunch about don't give them sippy cups because, it's fine. It's just if you can do a straw, it can improve their speech at an earlier age than not a straw, than a sippy cup. And so I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And Hannah immediately took to it. It was awesome. But I was just reading with Aubrey and it was alternate between a straw and an actual cup. And so we have this little baby cup for her and she loves it, but she bites it. She likes to bite it and she doesn't understand the concept of that. And the straw took her a while. So she probably just started drinking out of the straw about 2 weeks ago. So she was at about 8.5 months, maybe almost 9 months before she really started to figure out the straw. And now she thinks it's the funniest thing because she just takes the water in her mouth and then spits it out. And she thinks it's so funny, just starts laughing. And then, like I said, like Hannah did really well with the cup if you put it up to her lips for her. Same with Aubrey, but it's funny to let them try and pick it up. And then they both always would go to the top lip for some reason. I don't know why they do that, but they'd go to the top lip. And so then they're spilling it all down their shirts, but it's fun for them and they're figuring it out and good for them. Right. Cause that's what they say is, you know, introducing foods to them is the textures and learning about textures and, you know, temperatures and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Okay. So did you feed your baby the same food as you, or when did you start doing that? Or do you do that still, or do you feed them separate things than what you eat?
I think when I was more confident in giving him solid foods versus purees, I did try to, modify what we were eating. So he was like eating either something very similar or the same thing, because obviously certain things he couldn't eat yet. But I don't know. I feel like by a year, 11 months to about a year, he was eating basically the same things that we're eating. And we do eat at the same times. And I sit down with him. Even if I like already ate before he woke up, I'll sit with him at the dinner table, or the dinner table or the breakfast table, and eat with him and talk to him. And because he will now look and he wants to see what's in my bowl compared to what he has on his plate. So he wants to see if we're eating the same thing. So we do eat very similar. And I really, like I said a couple episodes back, I'm trying not to give him something extra if he didn't eat what we ate, because then he's going to get in the habit like, oh, I don't want this. Mom will give me what I want. So we're starting that young. It's hard though. I'm like, did he get enough? Is he so hungry? And I went to sleep. So sometimes I'll give him like a snack, maybe right, close to bed, but it's not often. And he does pretty well for the most part. Some days he doesn't. So.
Some days we eat the same thing. Some days we don't. I do a lot of meal prepping for Wesson, and I need to get in a better habit of doing that for us as well. So yeah, it just depends. There's meals we all eat at the same time, but that's really, really, really rare during season. So usually I'm eating dinner after Wes, but I will always sit with him. I'll always sit with him at the table. We'll talk and have, play music and stuff like that. But we used to be really good, but it was off season. And during the off season, we would sit down as a family, eat together every night. We would eat a lot of the same things. But during the summer, that's just not really feasible for us. So I do a lot of meal prepping for him, and my freezer is chock full of meals for Wes.
That's awesome. That's my dream, is to get to that. I keep saying that's going to happen. And Brandon went through our freezer the other day and he's like, what's this? I was like, I froze some pancakes. He's like, what's this? I said, I froze some French toast. I was like so proud of myself. Those are the only frozen meals in there. I haven't done a great job at meal prepping. But Danielle, did you guys meal prep? Do you guys meal prep at all, or do you pretty much?
Well, I used to meal prep like all the purees a lot, and then before Weston and before we moved here to Montana, Ryan and I meal prepped every weekend, and we'd have breakfast, lunch, and like sometimes dinner, and it was just so nice. And there's some Sundays that we'll meal prep, and Leah reminded me of like, and it's mostly for Weston, and so I actually might eat a different lunch than he does, but and that's kind of nice because I heat it up. But I realize like Weston gets tired of the same thing, because we're not meal prepping with like different meals. I feel like she's got a variety, and it's like the same thing every day. And he's like, yeah, I'm done with this. So we need to be, I don't know, just do a big meal prep one day and then like put it in the freezer and then just pull and then like have different varieties. That might be better, because like us, he gets bored. He's like, I don't want to eat this again for the third day in a row.
Right.
So
I for sure wish we meal prepped. I just like it. To me, it takes so much work to meal prep, but I know that it would be worth it if we did it, and we just have to get into that routine, and we just don't. And so like we're the worst because like there in the 2 years that Hannah has been going to daycare, I think I have prepared her lunch the night before less than 5 times. So every single morning, we're like scrambling to get everybody ready and scrambling to get food ready, snacks, all of that kind of stuff. And you like, I have to imagine that these daycare workers are like, what? What did they give her for lunch? Like, this is such a mishmash of whatever. But we go to the grocery store, I would say probably 4 to 5 times a week. Like we don't buy a lot in excess. Like we don't buy meals like, because before we had kids, we would plan out our meals like for 5 days a week. And then we would be like, oh, well, we're going to go out to dinner tonight because somebody asked us to go out to dinner. So then we're wasting food, and we weren't good at that time about freezing stuff. So yeah. So like I got pretty turned off by the whole, like, prepare the whole week of what you're going to eat. But now it's just chaos. Like, and like you said, you get to the point where like, all right, tacos again, burgers again, because it's like easy and you remember it, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I really would like to get to that point, because I mean, the mornings I wake up and I've prepared the night before, I'm like, this is the best. I have so much time to do whatever I want with Hannah, like go do whatever, play with Play-Doh or whatever. And you're like, why don't I do this more? So that's a dream of mine. But to backtrack a little bit. So before a year, we did not eat the same as Hannah. We would give her her own stuff, because I was the same thing as Leah. We worked off of that 100 foods to give under one before their turn 1 list. And same thing, Leah. I was like, I can't even say that word of like whatever that food is. Like, I've never even heard of that, but I'm going to go find it in the grocery store. Ridiculous. Like, don't do that. You don't need to do that. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's cool to expose them to things, right? But yeah, like, so I would give her a lot of things, and I tried a lot of things. It was Solid Starts is a good one that I use their references, because it would tell you how to prepare foods based on their age. So at 6 months, you do different things than 9 months, then you do different than 12 months. So I would start, and I would like look at their lists and stuff. And I remember them being like, don't only give them bland foods, like give them spice, give them, like, think about other places in the world where there's no option. They eat spice. Like, those kids do great. So I one time gave, I don't know if you've ever had tahini, but I gave Hannah tahini on a cucumber, and I have the cutest video of it, because she was like, she tasted it and she was like crying because it was spicy to her, right? But then she would go, more, because she was like crying, but she'd give the sour face, but she wanted it. so yeah, we gave her a lot of different foods than we ate. And then when we got to 12 months, we were like, you know what, let's start doing this. But the problem is with both of my kids, they go to bed really early. Hannah, not as much anymore, but they go to bed at 6. So we were like never prepared enough to feed them and ourselves at like 5:30, because Brandon was getting home from work, and it was just a lot. So I would just make stuff for them separately. And Aubrey now, like, she gets whatever we have, like, poor kid. She's just definitely not going to be as adventurous as Hannah, although we try to give her as much as we can. Same thing, baby-led weaning. We don't do purees for her and stuff like that. Like, pouches are treats for them. We give them pouches for treats, and they love them. So it's really nice to kind of treat them like a dessert to them. So we like to do that. But like I said, times wise, like, we try to sit down now with Hannah every night for dinner, and every single night we sit down and she goes, family.
Oh,
it's the
that's
cutest
so
thing.
sweet.
It's very sweet. She loves it. But she's not good at staying at the table anymore. So we're working on, I was reading something that was like, bring books to the table, do whatever you need to keep them at the table. So we're going to start working on like bringing Play-Doh to the table and doing those kinds of things, just to kind of keep her interest, and then slowly try to back that stuff off, so that she doesn't need to have something at the table with her at all times. So So yeah. Cool. Well, we addressed the meal prep. Leah's the master at that for sure. So that's awesome. We are jealous and want to do that.
Yes.
Do you, Leah, on that topic of meal prep, do you have favorite recipes that you like to give, Wes, or favorite references?
Yeah. So,
To foods?
here's it. In about 2050, Wes is going to be the chili cook-off king of the world. He loves chili, and I don't really have a recipe for it. I just kind of throw everything in the crock pot, and that he'll never turn down chili. So
Nice.
that's an easy, super easy one. I'm making a batch tomorrow. One thing that I did buy that I really love, and most people probably have this. I don't know. I probably should have had it before I was closing in on 40. A vegetable chopper. It dices all the vegetables. I just stick my onion in it, stick all my peppers in it. It saves me so much time with meal prepping. Like, it is just a huge relief. So 10 out of 10.
Can you send me the link?
Oh,
to
dude, I
that
found
so
it at
that
like
we
Home
can.
Goods. But any,
They have them on Amazon
any,
too.
yeah,
I bought one. Haven't used
yeah,
it yet. So now I
you
need
can
to.
find them anywhere.
I'll put a link in the notes of the episode.
Yeah. That you could find a good one on Amazon. They're like $10. But I had a gift card to Home Goods, and I was walking through, and I was like, you know what? This looks like it'd be nice. It's nice.
How is it to clean? Is it hard to clean?
It's not the worst. It's not the best. I would put it like
Okay.
easier than cleaning bottles, but not as easy as cleaning like a pan. But I've also got like a scrub scrub brush that just kind of gets it all out. So it's not bad, but it's definitely worth it for how much time it saves you.
Awesome.
And now what I do is I have like food storage containers. So I just dice everything up, and then I put it in that and sprinkle it how I'm using it for the week, whether it's, in a salad over here, the chili over here, whatever. So chili is a go-to in our house for sure. And that's one that Steven and I will eat as well. And then there is the So Yummy Chickpea Blondies from Yummy Toddler Food that I make at least once a week. Those are really good. So I try to make things that are high in protein. The new one that I'm experimenting a lot with is the viral TikTok cottage cheese bread. I have a hard time subscribing to calling it bread, but it's a flatbread. It's really thin, but it's just cottage cheese and egg. And then I've been experimenting with adding like different flavors. So tonight I made like a pumpkin spice one. So I put some pumpkin spice seasoning in it, and then a little bit of maple syrup to sweeten it up. I've done it in a way with garlic, done it just without any sort of seasoning. But again, it's like high protein, it's clean, it's easy. I use my food processor for everything. If it's a recipe I can make in my food processor, you better believe that I'm making it in the house. So,
nice.
The Yummy Toddler Food applesauce muffins, those ones are really good too. And then,
yeah, I'm a big Yummy Toddler Food recipe person.
Yes.
Like, I go on there all, like, I make stuff from her all the time. I love her stuff.
Same.
Yeah. I do a lot of things. I make like, so I bought this mini waffle maker when we started solids with Wesson, and I was like so excited because I was like, oh, mini waffles, right? Like, just not a full Belgian waffle, but like a mini waffle would be great. Cut it in fours. They'll be like little snacks. Apparently, I accidentally bought a micro waffle maker because the waffles are about the size of a $50. And I opened it up and I was like, oops, not what I was intending for. But now I use it for everything because it makes like kind of like good waffle cookies. So they're really small, and then I'll end up with like 40 waffle cookies from a batch of whatever batter I'm making. But I do use that one often as well. But
I will say that we had a brunch soon after you got that waffle maker at your house, and you made like 1,000,000 of those waffles. And the bad part was I ate 1,000,000 of them because I was like, oh, they're small. They're not that big. Like I can eat a ton of these to make them one waffle. No, not, I ate so
They're
many.
smaller than a normal spoon. Like,
they're so tiny. It was awesome.
But they're great. They're great. So last week I made banana, egg, quinoa, micro waffles.
Ooh.
But yeah, those are some of the things that have made like meal prepping pretty easy and reasonable. And I just try and make one thing a day. And by doing that, I end up with like extra storage, stuff in storage or in the freezer, and then enough stuff to usually get through the week.
That's awesome.
You need to start doing that.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too.
Weston really likes chili, but chili does not like him. It makes he gets really bad diaper rash. It's probably the tomato, or the beans. I don't know. And he woke up when he ate the chili, and then we put him, after dinner and put him down for bed after his bath and stuff. And he woke up a few hours later. And so then again, the next day, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give him chili for lunch. Same thing. I put him down for his nap. He didn't stay down for his nap very long. And I don't know. It could have been combination of teething, but as soon as I picked him up, he burped and I just smelled like garlic. Okay, I'm so sorry your belly hurts. So he loves it. I've never seen him eat something so fast. Another thing that we also like to prep is Ryan will make a quiche, and he loves quiche. He'll even ask for it by name, going quiche. So he really likes that. I'll do chickpea fritters. Because he doesn't eat a whole lot of protein. If I put chicken or anything, he picks it out. In spaghetti, he'll eat meat if it's going in, but he'll also pick it out. So it's just that's been hard. At least he'll eat eggs. So we try to do eggs and stuff in the morning. The chickpea fritters are great because chickpeas, like beans, have protein. And then I love making the butternut squash muffins. And they have maple syrup and applesauce. I do the applesauce without sugar, but it adds that sweetness into it. And then a bunch of other stuff from Yummy Toddler. And he loves that. And we love that. So I'll make an extra batch just because butternut squashes are big. So I'll double or triple it. And then usually put some in the freezer. And then a couple I'll put mini chocolate chips in it for Ryan and I to enjoy. So those are some of our favorites that our go-tos. And then sometimes we'll make pancakes for him in the morning, like banana pancakes. And it's literally just banana, egg, and whole wheat flour. And Ryan will put cinnamon in it and we mix it up, and it's so good.
That's awesome. Same thing. Favorite recipes. We do a lot of the Yummy Toddler food stuff. I like to make at least muffins a lot. Her granola bars are really good. I did that. The problem is I eat them. If I could restrain myself from eating that stuff, we would have a lot of leftovers. We'd have a lot of frozen stuff, but I love her stuff myself. And I'm like, man, I wished I knew this all existed when I was a kid eating Pop-Tarts every 3 seconds, and mac and cheese. So it was interesting. So 2 days ago, I had mac and cheese out of the box, which I haven't had, I would say, since Hannah was born. And I was like, I don't like this as much as I used to. It's interesting how you expose yourself to different stuff, how you start to have a different taste buds and different feelings and wants and desires for things. So along those lines, how do you decide if your kid should and will eat something? You'll let them have that, and how do you decide what they can and cannot have?
I'm still really strict on sugar. But personally, I don't do sugar either. So I shouldn't say Stephen and I are very strict on sugar with Wes. So he still has not had anything that has added sugars in it. And outside of that, there's there's been times I've had to like make a concession on sodium content, right? Out of, urgency, need, whatever, situational. But I also just try and play by the rules of balance. Like, one thing here is not going to hurt. It's not going to completely derail. Can take the opportunity. I mean, I'm not going to educate him on the pros and cons of food when he's 18 months old. But, in the future, we can talk about like what good things do orange things do for you? What good things do green things do for you? And like kind of, I've read a lot about the psychology of food. I mean, I had a severe eating disorder when I was in high school, college. And so I have to have a good relationship with food. I have to model that. And so I have to figure out ways to teach that to him as well. And I'm hopeful, like you said, Lisa, right? Like kind of when you don't have things, your taste buds change, right? Like if somebody were to give me a soda right now, I would probably be so repulsed. I don't like that. I think it's like, that's not my thing. My taste buds don't go for that. And so my hope is that like by giving, and I don't know, right? He's going to be a kid and he's going to go to parties and they're going to have cake and all of that. But my hope is that he also is in tune with his body and feels like, oh, I had that cake and my tummy hurts, Mom. Or like, hey, I had this and it made me feel great. Things of that sort. So that's kind of like where I'm hoping that Stephen and I can like really go with Weston. Less of, no, you can't have that. Or more of like, let's talk about it. Or like, I don't know. Maybe that's totally unreasonable. He's 18 months old. I don't know. But food is really important in our lives. And so it's like, how do we make him have a good relationship with it as well?
Right. Like, what I don't want to do is like, this food is good and this food is bad. But I was reading a book. Well, I still am. I didn't finish it. I need to. The Raising Mentally Strong Kids. I keep going back to that book, but talking about how like, how's this food going? Is it going to help my brain or is it going to hurt my brain? And kind of, like talk through that kind of stuff. And so when they do have to make those decisions themselves, hopefully they think about it like, is this going to help or is this going to hurt? Because there's a lot of food that, causes a lot of inflammation and then just like problems, concentrating and thinking. And so it took me a long time to get a healthy relationship with food too. And I think it was my profession as a health teacher and learning more about nutrition in college that kind of like changed my perspective too. And just seeing certain family members just fad dieting all the time and this food's bad, I can't have it, it's gonna make me fat. And so like that's where my bad relationship came from. So I don't want to put that on to Weston, but we're also I would say I'm pretty strict on the sugar too. I will say we did go out for ice cream the other day. There was a new ice cream place and I got the Huckleberry ice cream and I did have him let him have a few bites of mine. And Ryan's like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna take a picture of this. Like you let him have his first ice cream. Yeah, he gives me a really
Brandon does that to me too. It drives me bonkers. Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna let him have a few bites, yes, because we're eating it. It's like we can't be like you can't have this, but we can. But I was like, but we also need to think about the choices that we're making and be a role model to that. Because Ryan, if we have a 12-pack of soda, like that thing would be gone in a weekend. Like Oreos would be gone in a day. So I don't buy that stuff, and so I feel like I'm trying to help Ryan change his ideas on food, but it's not working. Because I'm like, okay, I know that you like this food, but let's think about Weston and we have to be a role model of what we eat and like, making good choices. So he thinks I'm so strict, which is unfortunate. So it's hard. But then he's also like, I'm just giving you a hard time. Like, I'm really glad that you're making us like these really good meals and all the things, but it's still, I don't know. My family doesn't get it very much. So that's the hard part. So yeah.
I agree with that. So it's interesting because when Cece was born, Michelle introduced me to the Yuka app and she was like, it's mind blowing. And I was like, what is this? Right. So you can scan barcodes of foods. And I think it's also cosmetics, right? It does cosmetics. but it won't do like certain products, whatever. It doesn't matter. So my new thing with scanning, I scan everything. So Hannah, that's another thing Hannah makes fun of me for. We'll go to the grocery store and she's like, wait, mommy, I have to scan it. And I was like, oh, Jesus, like this is, you're right. I do. I scan everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so I scan things and I look for additives. And if they say there are risky additives in it, I will not buy them. If they're moderate, I try not to buy them. And if they're low, then I kind of depends on what else in there is. But they have scores of, 0 to 100, 0 being the worst product you can possibly have, 100 being the best product you can possibly have. So I have really gone to using that in the store itself for ingredients and stuff that I'll make, of whether I will let them have those items. I definitely make a judgment call when it comes to them saying this is a bad food because the sodium content's high. This is a bad food because certain stuff is high. We try not to do added sugar on the regular. We have definitely changed our stance with Hannah in circumstances, like you said, when she goes to birthday parties, I don't want her to be like, why does everybody else get to have a cupcake, but I can't? But I will tell you, we haven't been to many birthday parties. The one birthday party we went to, she had a cupcake and she was like, I don't like that. And I was like, yeah.
See, that's what I'm hoping for, right? Like, is like, you give them healthy food.
Well, you know what? That's gonna last once. It's not gonna last forever, but at least the one time it happened, I was so proud. But yeah, like I try really hard on that standpoint of like, I don't want it like you guys said. I don't want to say no to her all the time and be like, no, that's bad for you. So like I'll be mid-sentence and being like, no, that's not something that we would choose to eat right? Like I'm like trying to reframe my, and she's gotten to the point now where she's like, what were you going to say? And I'm like,
she's so smart.
She's ridiculous. Like I'm like, I just forgot what I was going to say, like trying to catch myself in those things, but it is incredible how impressionable they get with that kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. But the differences in now versus the beginning, like same thing. My mother-in-law used to be like, are you not going to let this kid live? And I'm like, that's not, I don't want my kid to have ice cream every day because I have ice cream every day and I feel poorly about myself a lot because I eat that ice cream, and not poorly about myself, but my stomach hurts a lot, like a lot of times because I eat that ice cream every single day and I don't need to do that, right? That's not necessary. And I really do think that eventually sugar is going to be one of those things that they're going to be like, like probably not as bad as tobacco, but like it's going to be like, hey, this is not good for you.
So there's a lot of studies out there that show that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So there's a lot of science behind it. And that's part of the reason why I've made the decisions I've made for myself to get off sugar. I mean, I've always, don't get me wrong, I will sit down and devour a bag of chips in a second. I'm much more savory than I am sweet. Kind of goes for my personality too. Much more salty than I am sweet. But yeah, no. So there's a lot of science behind that, Lisa. Like it's very much a real thing. And like, I mean, I don't want to get too scientific, but like sugar fuels cancer, and like there's a lot of it. One tip that somebody gave me, I don't remember who, when I was just trying to like really strengthen my relationship with food, is like, if you can't pronounce all the ingredients on whatever it is, then you shouldn't get it. And so I follow that a lot. There's a new brand of Chex Mix out that's fantastic. Keto Crunch, I think, is what it's called. Link? They had it on sale. So that's my other thing, is I will only try new things if they're on sale. And they had them on sale at Sprouts, and I was like, oh, I'll try this. And it was really, really good, and it's really clean ingredients. The sodium's a little bit high, but it's clean ingredients. It was very, very, very good. So highly recommend that. But that was just,
That's what I think.
no,
Go
so
ahead,
I was just
sorry.
going to say, like, similar to the Yucca app, right? Like, I am more in the habit of picking up and reading the ingredients versus scanning it. And I got a little annoyed with Yucca just because it would say something was bad, but then it would say it was bad because it had baking soda. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you really have to look at what it is that's triggering it to say it's got a low rating. But I'm with you, right? Like, if it hazardous additive or something like that, then, you know, I agree. But I'm just more in the habit of actually reading the ingredients on the bag.
Yeah, I do that too. Only because I taught how to read a nutrition label like to high schoolers, and so I was very passionate about that too. And we did watch a documentary. I was trying to look it up, but I can't remember what it was exactly, but talking about the same thing. With it was all about sugar, but it was how it showed a brainwave of a brain on cocaine and a brain with sugar, and it was lit up even more than the cocaine brain. And so it was
It's
wild.
called
And
Fed
it is
Up.
hide sugar, like you. Oh, that's it. Yeah, Fed Up. That's a really good one if you haven't watched that one. It is a little outdated, but it is very interesting. Like, it even talks about like the lobbyist or for the food company and stuff, and how they even changed like Michelle Obama's idea. She was going so hard against these food companies, and then all of a sudden she's partnering with the food companies, and I'm like, but it's just because they were like, oh, she's coming after Coca-Cola. We need to work with her. It's not the food that's making you fat. They said it's the lack of exercise.
Yeah, it was the narrative totally swapped. But also, like, so in that documentary, Fed Up, it's by Katie Couric. I also learned that on the nutrition label, because this is a lobbyist thing, everything has a percentage of your daily value except for sugar, because almost every processed food is going to have more of your daily value of sugar than is recommended. And so they removed it. The lobbyists removed that number from it. So you always have to look at grams of sugar, and you have to know what your recommended daily value intake of sugar is, which is about 25 grams of sugar. So I guarantee you, if you go if you go and look in your cabinet, a lot of things it's gonna surprise you now if you look at a nutrition label and see that. You'll never unsee it.
That is the hardest. That's the hardest part. Like, even trying to find cereal is incredibly hard. And no, I'm not talking obviously like Trix and Lucky Charms. Obviously, I know those aren't good, but like, even like you scan Cheerios, and Cheerios have a ton of additives in them that are not good for you. And you're like, even my Cheerios, like, come on, they keep advertising so good for your heart, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, it's so sad. It's sickening.
Only good for your heart. It's not really good for your heart. They're advertising that way because there's no cholesterol in it. So it's not going to raise your cholesterol level because there's no cholesterol. So that's how they market that. It's funny how they market things too. And it wasn't until 2020 when they changed the food label to now they have to have how much added sugars in it, because they used to just like, it's this much sugar. Well, is that from the fruit that's in it, or is it from the added sugar? So, and then now when you look on Pop-Tart, we just went on a rant, but if you look at a Pop-Tart box, used to, it was, it had the sugar and everything on it. One label. Do you know what the serving size for Pop-Tart is?
It's one, isn't it? Because they come in packs of two.
It's one. They come in a pack of two. It's one. So now food labels have to put like, okay, this is if you eat one, which is the recommended serving size. Who eats one Pop-Tart? I have always ate two.
Well, they came in packs of two. So come on, of course.
Yeah.
They do it on ice cream now too. It's like, okay, this is a serving size, but if you eat the whole tub.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm glad those things have changed, but still it's like.
That was the mind-blowing thing to me when some restaurants would put it on their menus of the calories. And I was like, I'm going to go on a soapbox really quick. We ate at Chili's a lot as a kid, like over once a week, probably once a week on average. And they started putting their calorie counts on their menus. And my mom was like, I told you this place is the devil. This is the worst place ever. And she goes, there's nothing on this menu under 1,000 calories. I said, I told you this is not healthy. I don't care that you're getting the quesadilla explosion salad. It's not healthy, so it is like, I said that, like, there are certain things that are guilty pleasure foods of mine that I'm like, I don't want to know the calorie counts in it. I don't want to know that stuff, or I will never eat it again, which is a good thing that I won't eat it again, but I choose ignorance because I want to have that. But it is amazing. Like I said this, I usually do a no sugar for January and try to go as long as I can in the year. But that first week off of sugar, I am horrible to be around. Like, I am irritable. I'm so like, I'm tweaking. Like, I need my sugar. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, even today, I was like, all right, I haven't had any sugar in a day. I didn't have any sugar yesterday. So then today I was like, all right, on my way home, I'm going to drive to Whole Foods and I'm going to get dark chocolate candy bar. And I literally went out of my way to go away from Whole Foods so that I wouldn't stop and go get that. And I get home and Brandon's like, I got you a gift. And I was like, oh no, what'd you get me? And usually when he does that, it's like scratch off lottery tickets. So it's really great. And he opens the freezer and it's a frozen chocolate bar. And I'm like, give it to me. I can't say no. It's here. Like, this is so, like, if I don't buy it and I don't have it in the house, like, I will, like, I'll start to get really like twitchy. Like, oh, I really need this. I really need this. I'm going crazy, but I won't make the effort to go out and get it, but yeah, like, we've obviously shown our unhealthy sides to how we feel about food. And I just so hope that my kids don't have to experience that. But it is really difficult, like you guys said, being a good role model, right? Like, I was hiding food from Hannah, and Brandon's like, don't you think that's pretty bad if you have to hide food from Hannah? And I was like, it is. You're totally right. Like, I need to consciously do this. But same thing, like Hannah's first birthday, I was so anti-sugar that I made a cake out of a watermelon. Like, literally carved a watermelon into the shape of a cake. And then I put like grapes toothpicked into it. Like, that was a little bit much, right? And Brandon the other day goes, oh, well, I guess for Aubrey's birthday, we're just going to be the no fun people and not going to have a cake and just give them a watermelon again. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll make her. I was very proud of it. Really good. But it did. It did. But it's not like you're serving that up to anybody. It's like, whatever. I told him, I was like,
some watermelon.
I'm going to make a sweet potato cake for Aubrey he's like, and again, Danielle, he was like, I'm like, you've literally had it like 6 times. And you're like, this is so good. I wouldn't have known this had sweet potatoes in it.
Yeah. Weston loved it. And yes, I got harped on by Ryan and my family. And I'm like, and they tasted it. I'm like, oh, this is really good. And I'm like, I told you.
Yeah.
I mean, it still has sugar in it. It's just natural sugar from the maple syrup.
Right.
And the sweet potato, but
that's the hard thing too. Like, I introduced the Yuka Yoka app to my mom, and she's like, I can't eat anything. I can't eat anything. I can't eat anything that I've been telling myself has been healthy all these years. And I'm like, yeah, so stop giving it to my child when she asks her every time for a bite of her protein bar. Mom, that thing has like 26 grams of sugar in it. That's not healthy.
And at that point, is it even a protein bar if it has that much sugar?
I know. It's outrageous. So,
no. But my advice is just everything in moderation. I try to live like a 20-80. So 80% I'm eating like healthy, and and then 20% might be like my ice cream, my coffee, maybe my wine. So I don't know. I'm like, I want to enjoy it. I'm not going to be like, eat ice cream and then feel guilty about it. I'm like, I'm not going to eat like this every day. I'm going to have this bowl of ice cream. I'm going to enjoy every bite. And then tomorrow I'm going to get up and, I don't know, eat my yogurt, my eggs, whatever it is. But it's just like, so just don't beat yourself up when you do eat foods that you enjoy, and find that relationship and good relationship with food too. Well,
and I think that's a great point. Go ahead, Leah.
No, I was just going to say, like you mentioned earlier, like everybody doing fad diets, right? Well, none of that stuff is sustainable long term. You're like, I am with you, Danielle, the 80-20. I was going to say the same thing. Like, you can't torture yourself, and you still deserve to live a life, right? So, like, if you make the majority of your choices be positive choices, then you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think that's, for me, it's a big struggle of like, I don't understand moderation. Like, I'm very bad at that. I've always been that way with drinking. Like, if I have one drink, like, what's the point of drinking if I'm only gonna have one drink? Let's drink the whole bottle, right? We're talking bubbles here. I'm not talking vodka, but like, that's all I've always been. And then with ice cream, like, I don't have a stop. Like, I just am not good at the stop. I'm like, let's get this out of the house, so I'm just gonna eat the whole thing. Well, that's not a good way to live either, right? So Brandon made a great point. He's like, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we have it where we can have ice cream once a week, but we go to Dairy Queen, or we go to Freddy's, or we go to Culver's, or whatever, and you get it so that it's not in the house anymore, and it's a special treat to go out and do it. So I want to say, like, a month ago, Aubrey was in daycare and Hannah had off, and I took her to Dairy Queen and got her a sprinkle cone, and she was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, she loved it. She thought it was so fantastic. But the funny thing is, even after that, like, I'm lucky because right now her memory's not terribly great on everything, but she doesn't remember having that. So she doesn't ask me for ice cream again, which is so awesome. And I'm like, how do we make this like a rare special treat that she doesn't obsess over when she does get it and want to just wolf it down because she doesn't get it that often, It's hard being a parent. It's hard. So, yeah.
There's that. So, yeah.
We beat. Oh, you're so right. Oh, man. She says it's so cute, though. It's like, so, yeah. She like head bobs a lot. So, yeah, she likes to turn her head to the side a lot. It's just the cutest thing. I mean, she is just a sassy one. So. Leah, I had to put you on this.
No, I was just say she was really cute today because she's like, can I come sit next to you? And I was like, of course. And then I was like, how was your day? She's like, it was good. Did you have a good day? And I was like, of course. I was like, thank you for
asking. She's cute. She's a pistol. Leah, do you want to chat GPT any questions for us to wrap up?
Let's do it.
All right.
I will say one thing, like, I was super, it logged me out. I was super disappointed when we introduced to Wes, because I was like so excited to like get that like sour baby face. No, he devoured him. He loves him. He will.
Hannah does the same.
I was so bummed.
Yeah.
It's like, this wasn't what I was planning for. We had our cameras out. We were like ready to record it. And he's like, oh, yum, 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 yum. Like, okay.
Oh, side note to the meat thing, because we go back all around. We recently started using the Traeger seasoning. And Hannah loves meat with Traeger seasoning on it. I don't know. I don't know what it's like. Leah, sodium wise, it's probably pretty high, huh?
It may not be. Some of them are fine. They're not too terrible. What's not
it's
high?
Incredible. I mean, I love
what's
it.
Not high in sodium that I love is the ranch dressing seasoning.
Ooh.
That on everything.
Oh my gosh.
But it's not the best for you. It's filled with some chemicals. But you'll have to tell me which seasoning you guys use, because we have like 55 different seasonings.
It literally just says Traeger on it. But it definitely has an additive in it that is hazardous. Silicone dioxide.
Yeah. Okay.
The word silicone does not sound good.
No. I will tell you though, it tastes incredible. Like, we put it on chicken and steak, and they taste completely different. I mean, it's awesome. Obviously, chicken and steak are different, but the seasoning's so separate.
Yeah.
Impairs liver function. That's good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, ChatGPT just said, what was the most surprising reaction your baby had when trying a new food for the first time? I feel like we kind of just covered that with lemons.
Well, I don't know, because is there, I mean, yes, the citrus. Is there anything that your kid didn't like that you're surprised they didn't like?
Yes. Oh my gosh,
I will
yes.
say-
I meant to say this earlier. I am
Okay.
having such a problem because Wes doesn't like pasta in any way, shape, or form. I've tried it.
Ooh.
Everything.
Ooh.
I've tried mac and cheese. I've tried spaghetti. I've tried Alfredo. I've tried different noodles. I've tried different brands of noodles. I've tried different ingredient noodles. Can't get him to eat pasta. I love pasta.
Weird.
I would live off of pasta. So that's another reason why we don't all eat together, because we eat pasta and he refuses.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah.
Interesting. I wonder what that is. Texture, maybe?
I don't know. Like, I've literally run the gamut and tried a new spaghetti 2 nights ago. Wouldn't go for it. Gave it to him for lunch yesterday, trying to get, and his entire lunch came back home from school. It's like, oh, dang.
That's interesting. I think that the hardest part is like, for Hannah, she would eat like 15 bananas a day if you gave them to her, if you let her have them. And then one day she's like, I don't like banana. And I was like, what? And so then she didn't eat bananas for like 4 months. And I was like, we always have them though, because I bake with them a lot. So I always have them. And one day she's like, I want banana. I was like, no, because you're just going to throw it away and spit it out. You always do this. She's like, no, I want banana. I was like, all right, fine. But if you spit this out again, I'm not letting you have it for 2 days. So she ate the whole thing. And then she was back to wanting 3 bananas a day. And I was like, it's weird how they go cyclical like that. Like, I just keep offering things and just hoping they come around on it.
Yeah, I think I've told you before, like, Wes will go on an egg strike and he'll go on a meat strike and then he'll be back on the wagon. But yeah, he eats a lot of bananas
Strange.
too.
I know. Yeah. Danielle, anything you can think of?
Weston's the same. He'll eat something and like seems like he likes it, and then we'll give it to him again and he won't eat it. Like the chicken pot pie, he ate that whole thing the first time we gave it to him, chicken and everything, and then the last time we gave him chicken pot pie, he picked the peas out to eat them. So yeah, he's like on strike with chicken, turkey, like really any meat. And then the other day we gave him a grilled cheese. He ate the grilled cheese, and then today we made grilled cheese because it's like cold outside today. And tomato soup, he liked the tomato soup, but the grilled cheese, he didn't even touch it. So it's just
Hannah one time ate the cheese out of the middle of the grilled cheese, and I was like, this isn't okay. Don't do that.
I was at a restaurant with some friends, and their 5-year-old daughter did that at the dinner table. So I think,
yeah, it's normal.
I think so too.
I always try to remind myself in parenting that I'm probably not the only one experiencing this exact thing.
You're definitely not the first. You're definitely not the last. And you are more than likely not the only.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else to add?
I think that's a wrap.
All right, Danielle, we're excited to hear about your trip next week when we record. And again, congratulations to Michelle and Ryan and baby Parker. Super excited for them. So, all right. We will talk to y'all soon.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.